it's Janet here with remarkablycreated.com. Sorry I'm a few seconds late. I was just totally lost track of time, to be very honest. I was creating like a wild woman in the studio, and I totally just lost track of time, so I am so sorry guys about being a few minutes late. So what we're talking about tonight is we're going to revisit these Delicata inks. These are beautiful metallic inks that are pigment inks. They're water-based, they're odorless. I'm finding that they dry quickly, although not so quickly that I can't emboss with them, and I've had no issues with them smearing at all. But I thought what we would do is we would just kind of play right on camera, kind of truth is in the pudding, and we would just use them on some of the different cardstocks and different types of paper to see what happens. And then I've got some fun samples to share with you at the end. So let me just grab some stamps. I just kind of grab some new ones to entice you with as we're playing, because as long as I'm playing, I want to have new samples and new images to work with when we're all done. But Peaceful Bows, Playful Penguins, and then I thought that the feather from Day of Thanks would be fun to play with. But let's start first with, let's see, the Peaceful Bows. How about that one? And just a little tip for you, kind of a random tip. Whenever I get a new stamp set like this, I always take and I peel this back off here. And let's just pull that whole backing off. I'll give you a little extra tip tonight since this is a new stamp set. And then I like to go ahead and place that down in here. And then I personally don't take every stamp out and pull the paper off. I don't pull the paper off until I actually use that stamp. Sounds kind of crazy, but I do it for a couple of reasons. One, I always find it fascinating to see just how many stamps I've used out of the set, whether I got a lot of love out of it or not. And then I am a demonstrator who sells their stamps as retired stamps when the season is all over, when I'm able to sell them according to Stampin' UP policy. Because for me, my stamps need to earn an income and earn their keep here in my studio. And so not pulling the paper off also, for me, I have found has a higher resale value because I'm able to say only one image used or two, and I know exactly how many weren't. I'm also one of those crazy ones, even with our new cling mount, I don't use the labels. That's just my personal thing. Not to say that you can't, but it's just something that I kind of got in the habit of doing and I'm okay with. So I just kind of tuck them behind just like that. Everybody kind of has their own way of using stamps and taking care of them and things like that. And that's just my personal way, guys. So, okay. So, let's pull that image back out here. I put it all back away again. And let's grab us a block. And using this one to start with, I want to do Peaceful Bows in copper. So, with the Delicata inks, just like with any of our inks, you have options. You can press them in. Oops, sorry, that shakes it, doesn't it? Sorry about that a little bit. Get a little heavy-handed. You can smush them in. Always you want to be really careful not to really smush and get all that ink up around the edges. You can also take a sponge dauber, and let me get here my... I use the little half wood mount cases in our new organizational pieces to kind of store those. And you can ink up a sponge dauber, and you can take the ink right to the... Let me move that up in there so you can see that better. Right up into the stamp as well, too, by inking up your sponge dauber. So that'll keep your fingers clean. And that also ensures that you're not kind of catching any of those edges. So let's try this. And I'm going to stamp off just for fun. So now we have it on our vellum. So you can see that shimmer and that shine. But now let's see. So it does smudge. We're going to have to let it dry on the vellum, but it will dry on the vellum. But initially, within just a few seconds, I don't know if you can see that there is some smudging happening. You can see it a little bit on my thumb, okay? So you're going to have a little bit, but again, not a whole lot. So my recommendation and what I have found with the vellum is that when I stamp it, and we're going to set this aside for a few seconds and we'll come back to it. We're just going to randomly fill in the background here. Is when I can set it aside and totally let it dry. I don't heat dry it. We'll come back to it in a second and it will be dry. So that's vellum. So let's try just regular cardstock and let's see what happens here. Of course, you can always emboss with these as well too. And one of the things that I love is I love embossing, for example, gold over gold ink, copper over copper ink, silver over silver ink. And one of the reasons why I love doing that is because if you ever miss a tiny little spot, then you're able to have that gold ink kind of fill in underneath, and it's not as obvious that you missed a spot. And especially if you're not using the Stampin' Majig to kind of line things straight up. So here, I'm touching this one. It's dry. Can you see that? It's not smearing, guys. You can hear me touching it. I'm not cheating. Okay? So it looks really pretty on, this is the Proud Peacock. So now let's try it on the Very Vanilla. And let's switch this up a little bit. Let's grab the bigger bow out of here. And let's grab a different color, just for fun. I'll set this aside so we remember to clean it. And put this on our block. And I'm gonna, normally I would press this on the ground, but I'm gonna hold it in my hand like this. And I'm kind of just giving it a slight little twist, just to make sure that it's pressed in there. And you can look at the stamp and you can see that it's well covered. One of the things I love about this ink is that it really shows up well. So let's use that. And I'm just kind of pressing. Oops, I keep moving off camera, guys. I am so sorry. I'm going to just press. And sometimes I just kind of like to rub around with my fingers, and I just kind of press and hold for a second. Look how pretty, guys. Look at that. Okay, so we've got our gold there. And now on my Very Vanilla, it's not smearing either. Can you see that? It's drying. That also means that because it's drying that fast, is if you do want to emboss, you need to do so fairly quickly. You can't like do 10 of these, set them aside, and then want to come back to emboss. You need to be stamping, and then you need to be ready with the powder, and then off you go, and I will show you some that are embossed. So let's try one other fun thing. Again, looking at this, and I'm going to just, again, hold it in my hand, just mostly to prevent shaking. Normally I would keep this flat on the table, but you guys don't need the shakes tonight. That'll be me with all the caffeine. I'm actually leaving the house at 3 a.m. to catch a flight. So there it is, gold on gold. And I bet when you emboss that, that would be really, really pretty. So let's see what happens. Now that does smear. So that's either going to need a long drying time, or you're going to need to emboss that. Okay, so just kind of playing with that. But now we're going to go ahead and ink that back up again, and we're going to set it aside, and we're going to dry it to see what happens. Or we're going to let it set aside and see how long it takes. And experiment in real life, real time. So now we're back to the vellum, and the vellum's dry. Since then, we've stamped those 3 cards, and the vellum's dry, and it's no longer smearing. So can you guys see that? So just for some fun, let's look at some of the other colors, though, just so we can see what the other colors look like. Let's bring in our pretty playful penguins. And I'm not going to bore you with setting this up the way I did the last one. And let's put the lid on this one. We're going to bring our silver in. Let me grab a block for the penguin. What size is he? Nope, he's a little bigger than that. We'll just use, nope. Okay. Set that one aside to dry too then. Okay, so I've got my penguin. I'm going to go ahead, he's more detailed, so I'm going to grab a sponge dauber so I can really ink him up well. So let's go ahead and take our silver ink. Doing them upside down so that you can see them versus tapping away like this really allows you to see that you've got the ink coverage that you want. And then we're going to talk to you about cleaning them here in just a second and what I have found with cleaning them. And I have a chamois here so you can actually see me cleaning them too. Instead of just sometimes us telling you that something works a certain way, I believe in actually seeing it, kind of that full disclosure is what I like to call that. Sorry about that. I stamped off screen again. So we've got him on that black, but see how pretty he is. Now, a little warning, can you see this here? Do you know where that's coming from? It's coming from my fingers that I'm not cleaning, as I proved to you that it doesn't smudge. So that's another little thing you're going to want to be well aware of, is that you've got to watch it on your fingers, okay? It does wash off of your hands really, really easy, so you may want to just keep a damp rag or a wet one handy so that you don't have it on your fingers and things like that. But again, you can see how pretty that little penguin is. So let's try some Whisper White. Somebody mentioned, I think it was Allison, that she was having it smear on Whisper White. And because I had been doing the embossing folder technique, we're going to try it that way this time. I had not noticed that. So let's put him on Whisper White. Look at that. Isn't he pretty? Oh, he's so much fun. Oh. Thinking about the little penguins in the movie Madagascar. So now let's try this. Now mine's not rubbing, and so mine's not smearing, guys. And that's our Whisper White, okay? So now let's talk to you a little bit about cleaning them. When I was doing a little bit of research on them, StazOn is the recommended cleaner, but I'm not a big fan of using StazOn cleaner just because it kind of has like a little bit of an oily kind of texture to it, a little bit of an oily finish to it. So I have found that the chamois is not the best, okay? It doesn't get in those nooks and crannies on the really detailed stamps. And so if you have the old scrubber, those little scrubbers work great. If not, if you have a sink candy and an old little toothbrush, you can clean them right off. But I'm finding that the chamois, now I can pick it up a little bit, but again, with these really, really detailed ones, you're going to need the old scrubber so you can scrub and get in there, or an old toothbrush, and it does come off that way. Now with the photopolymer stamps, and I didn't grab one of those, the photopolymer stamps, it wipes right off. No absolute issue whatsoever cleaning those photopolymer stamps. They clean up slick as a whistle, guys, okay? So that's kind of fun. So one other thing while we've got you here and we've got these playing with, again, when I was doing my research, they were talking about all these really cool, fun things because they are a pigment ink that you can do. So let's just bring this cardstock back in. And we've got our daubers handy. And let's go back to our gold. So I'm going to go ahead and lay my ribbon on top of the pad. Let's get all this out of the way, guys. And I'm just going to start to pull that through. And I'm able to color my ribbon. Now, depending on the type of ribbon, like if I heat set this tulle ribbon, it's going to make it all kind of scrunchy, which is kind of a cool effect. It gives it a very vintage effect. So depending on the type of ribbon, you can heat set this ink then to make sure it dries quicker, or you can simply just set it aside until you have it, but you're going to be able to color your ribbons with it. So there's that ribbon. Let's see what other ribbon we have here to color. So here I have this new fall ribbon, and it's actually, here's what it looks like close up. So let's see what happens if we add a little bit of gold to it. So just by brushing across. So you're going to want to make sure that if you've got bonus day dollars still that you've been holding on to, waiting to see the perfect thing to spend them on, if you don't have sponge daubers, that's something great to add to your crafting stash. I love these things. And then with the sponge daubers, you just simply rinse them until they run clear and then set them aside to dry. They will eventually look stained on the tips, but as long as you've rinsed them until they run clear and you can then test them to see if anything's coming off of them, you'll know they're clean and they're good to go. So yes, just with any of our inks, these are no different than any of our inks. You're able to simply color any of your ribbons and things like that. So that's going to be a fun thing for you to get even more value out of your inks. So one last thing, because some of you missed the video the other night, I wanted to just quickly review with you because I'm going to have you guys help me finish a card here in a minute. You're gonna give me your input and show me tell me how you think it looks best finished. So these are embossing folders. I had showed you a whole bunch, and you're going to see a couple more samples. And this is, it doesn't stain these, okay? But I had showed you a technique where you coat this with the inks, and then you run it through the embossing folder. And so you have a couple of different ways of doing that, just as a refresher for those of you who missed that video the other night. You can take your pad, and you can just start to mush it in and cover the whole folder. And you do that when you cover the whole folder, depending on the type of image, like say here with the flowers, you're going to get the flower and ink around it. If you want just the flowers, then you're going to want to take your dauber and you're going to want to color the dauber in. You're going to lay your paper in it and you're going to run it through the Big Shot, and you're going to have that really pretty impression that you're going to see in just a few minutes. This is plastic, so the pad is not going to dry on it, and it just rinses off really quickly and very easily, and it does not stain it whatsoever at all, guys. So let's take a look at some of the fun projects that I have for you tonight. Today is National Cat Day, and you guys saw my sweet grand fur baby Milo, but I've got a question for all of you guys. Oops, let's get this out of our way. Are you a cat person or are you a dog person? So which one are you? Are you a cat person or are you a dog person? This one here uses that embossing technique where I just showed you with the folder, and I put ink into the folder. We've got our sweet kitty, and if I just show you, look at him, or she's just glittering away. And then the folder again also has some of that. You can see where I put the ink into the folder. So cat, and then we have our dog. And again, the same thing with the folder. So we've got those two fun samples for you. Oops. Just got to show you those Delicata inks because they are amazing. So, and then this one sets up really pretty. This one stands like this. It does fit in a standard envelope. Cat, but love your dogs. I love my dogs too. So, real fun one there. Okay. Had to play with the snowmen, guys. Oh my goodness gracious. These little snowmen embellishments, that snowman embellishment kit. Now I did bring in, and these are part of that. That's where these come from. You are going to so want those. The felt are part of the kit that these came from right here. And then these rhinestones are these new rhinestones in the holiday catalog. Look at all those fun colors, guys. And so I decided to mix it up. This background is vellum, okay? And it is also got that metallic. And just let it set it aside. Now here you're starting to see the embossing. This is the silver Delicata pad with silver embossing over top. And this one is just the gold dry. Nothing special there. Then let me show you one more, and then you're going to help me finish a card. Just a real quick video tonight. So this one is the gold ink embossed, the gold Delicata, and then this is the same thing, the gold. And then this is the gold run through on the folder. Some of our pretty new holiday papers. So just a fun little card from our house to yours. So this is the magnolia. It doesn't have all the ink in between on the background this time. This is our very vanilla. I have very vanilla cut lengthwise, and this is where I want your opinion. So we have, it's going to layer this way. I'm not going to actually glue it down for you. I just want your opinion. One of my favorite, the banded together. I love these dies. Oh my gosh, they are absolutely stunning. So now, would you put Thinking of You at Christmas in vanilla with black ink to match the black paper? So just let me know, and then we'll post the finished one with the most votes. Or would you do the black, and it just says Thinking of You at Christmas for kind of a non-traditional Christmas look? So you can see that. Hold it up close. So there's the black one. So do you think we should finish it with black? Or do you think we should finish it with, let me put it back together, with the vanilla? So lots and lots of fun things, guys, coming. I've got a bunch more techniques, believe it or not, that I can show you with the Delicata inks. And once I get done figuring out what's happening with my mom and dad, and thank you guys for all of you that have offered your prayers. I totally believe in the power of prayer, so I really appreciate those thoughts and prayers, guys. But I do have a whole bunch more techniques for you with these, and I'll be taking photos of the cards that I showed you tonight. But again, just a couple reminders. It does dry. I don't have any issues with smearing on cardstock. What we do need is you do need to let it dry, and let's see now. It doesn't dry at all on the foiling, okay? It did say that it does work on coated paper, but I'm finding on our foils it doesn't, that you need to emboss it. Black, black, black. Black is winning, guys. It's popping. And vellum just takes some time to dry. You're going to want to use a little toothbrush or old scrubbers to get the ink off. But the ink does come off. So any questions at all about the Delicata inks or the samples that I showed you? How about one that has nothing to do real quick with Delicata inks at all? You guys want a little cute look at something fun? Nothing to do with these inks, but a little bonus project. Look at this guy. I just had to show you because I've been playing with that hammered metal folder. But look at that moose punch, guys. Oh my goodness gracious. How fun is, oops, I don't know where that picked up from. I love it when sometimes you pick up weird things. And then look at all the fun little sequins. So just a fun little bonus one for you guys. So I'll be taking pictures of those and posting for you. If you don't have a holiday catalog yet, make sure that you contact me. All of you that are on my mailing list and have already requested them, they went out in the mail between the 2nd and the 5th of August. So if you have not received yours by Monday, please let me know. If you've never requested one and don't have a demonstrator, make sure that you message me for your complimentary copy, guys. Thank you so much, and have a great night, guys. Take care.